If we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say shit. Math is racist, queers for Palestine, looting is cool, healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie. You can't just say shit.
On the latest episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, the comedian once again ripped into the left for holding on to what he calls woke delusions, even if it means sacrificing America's future. And let's be honest, he has a point. The divide between left and right has never been this wide, and it just keeps getting worse. Maher says it's time we actually live up to the name United States. But that dream is impossible unless the left finally lets go of this woke crusade. He didn't sugarcoat it either. His words were sharp and direct. Let's get into it.
It is so late in the game. Let's just go right to the granddaddy of bargains now. The left will seriously quash all their loony woke shit, and the right will stop the slide into autocracy. That's really the only card left to play.
Before I play the next part of the clip, I've got to say, I agree with Maher on this one. If the left truly wants unity, they have to step away from woke politics. This isn't about silencing progressives or banning their voices. It's about facing the fact that this extreme ideology is dividing the country instead of bringing people together. Sure, the right has its own share of blame. No side is completely innocent. But as Maher makes clear, a huge chunk of the dysfunction comes from the left's refusal to compromise. And in just a moment, you'll hear him make that argument loud and clear.
The problem we have in America is conservatives think the liberals are insane, and they're not completely wrong. Now, I don't think most liberals are insane, but neither do they make it clear they disapprove of the ones who are, and their cowardice in not marginalizing their own crazies has been their downfall. I couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson, a genius scientist and preeminent scientific voice in the media, to agree that it was ridiculous for Scientific American and The Atlantic to be claiming that separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Actually, it makes perfect sense.
Maher doesn't hold back. He comes straight for the woke left, calling them irrational, detached, and lost in fantasy. What's worse, he says, is that even respected voices, scientists, philosophers, cultural leaders, have abandoned reason in favor of blind ideology. It's like common sense no longer matters. You listen to their policies and their speeches, and you can't help but shake your head. Nothing feels logical. Nothing holds up under basic scrutiny. And yet, they find ways to spin complicated excuses to defend positions that don't make sense. Maher's point lands hard. When a movement trades logic for fantasy, it doesn't create progress. It creates chaos wrapped up in fake virtue.
And there's a lot of stuff like that on the left. And when conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society, often pointlessly, even if we have to cancel democracy to do it. That's what they're saying. They see gender as only a construct and sex is assigned at birth, and they say, we're not doing that. Transing kids by self-diagnosis with no age limit, no parental notification, and no acknowledgement of social contagion, not doing it.
Take gender debates, for example. How can anyone seriously claim gender is nothing more than a social construct when it's scientifically clear that men and women have different biological traits and natural distinctions? These differences aren't imaginary. They're facts we can all see. And yet, the woke left acts as though stating the obvious is offensive. Then, there's the issue of children. Kids who aren't trusted to drive, vote, or even buy alcohol are somehow expected to make permanent medical choices about their bodies. choices that could scar them for life? And if you raise concerns, suddenly you're the crazy one. Maher highlights the danger here. Ignoring biological truth and dragging children into politics isn't compassion, it's recklessness.
Asylum now covers any reason for anyone to come to America? Not doing it. Homelessness is a lifestyle. Natural immunity doesn't count anymore. Whiteness is toxic. Penises in women's prisons. Welcoming the Intifada. We're not doing it. And so, folks,
Maher also tackles homelessness. Instead of treating it as some kind of alternative lifestyle, or letting tents take over sidewalks, he says it's time to confront the real causes. That means taking people off the streets, giving them proper housing, and providing the resources to deal with addiction, mental illness, or financial collapse. That's what compassion actually looks like. Leaving human beings to suffer on sidewalks isn't kindness. It's cruelty disguised as tolerance. And it doesn't just harm the homeless. It damages entire communities forced to live among the decay.
if we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't.
He then turns to the woke activists themselves. Maher argues they're constantly forcing their worldview onto everyone else, demanding total agreement. But the truth is, not everyone is going to think, live, or believe the same way. That's life. The problem is the woke crowd can't handle disagreement. They demand conformity. But the rest of society cares about things like safe neighborhoods, strong families, and a healthy future, not indulging every passing identity trend. Forcing people to accept bizarre social experiments isn't progress. It's authoritarianism dressed up as kindness. Maher's warning is simple. If the left wants credibility again, they need to stop dictating how everyone else should live.
Can't just say math is racist, queers for Palestine, looting is cool, healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie. You can't just say
Bill emphasizes something that should be obvious. Facts are not toys you twist to fit your narrative. Facts are real. They don't change just because they hurt someone's feelings or clash with trendy ideas. But too often, the left retreats into an echo chamber where delusion gets repeated until it feels like truth. Maher says it's time to step out of that bubble and face the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Because without truth, there can be no progress. If facts are abandoned, reason is abandoned, and society can't survive without reason.
but it doesn't make it true because you're not Harry Potter. Smug self-righteousness in the defense of some of the dumbest ideas to ever come down the pike is not a formula that's really working for you. Because here's one thing I can promise every liberal in this country. The Democrats can win every election from now until forever. And the people who now hold the reins of power will not give it and will not give it back if they think you're still nutty.
Now, I don't buy the idea that conservatives would refuse to give power back if liberals lost elections. But I do believe putting liberals fully in charge leads to disaster. We've seen it before. Their policies sound good in speeches, but collapse in practice. They favor empty gestures over real solutions, and they prioritize feelings over facts. If Americans want another round of that, fine, that's their choice. But let's not pretend we don't know the outcome. We already lived through 8 years of woke leadership, and it left us with inflation, cultural division, endless identity politics, and weakened institutions. That's the record. Vote for it again if you want, But don't be surprised when history repeats itself.
One last stab at a grand bargain between the two sides that hate each other so much. America used to do this all the time, make bargains, and I've suggested many myself, like, you stop saying fetuses are the same as babies, and we'll stop saying trans women are the same as biological women. You stop saying alternative facts, and we'll stop saying my truth. You stop saying thoughts and prayers, and we'll stop with the land acknowledgement.
Let's pause for a second. Some issues don't even belong in the same debate. A fetus, for example, is not just an idea. It's a living being with a brain, organs, and the undeniable potential for life. Ending that life is not a minor choice. It's ending a human existence. Compare that to men competing in women's sports by claiming a new identity, and it's clear these are not equal debates. One is about protecting the most vulnerable form of human life. The other is about undermining fairness and biology with identity politics. Maher is usually sharp, but when he lumps these together as if they carry the same weight, he misses the mark.
You admit there's no such thing as voter fraud, and we'll admit that getting a picture ID isn't really that fucking hard to do. Stuff like that.
Here's the bottom line. Both the left and the right need to compromise if America wants a better future. But those compromises can't be built on lies or delusions. They must be grounded in truth, truth backed by facts, logic, and reality. Fake unity built on fantasy will collapse the moment it's tested. Real unity is rooted in principles that last: science, morality, reason, and common sense. Without those, the country will keep stumbling through endless culture wars and division. Maher's message is blunt, but it's necessary. America cannot survive on delusion. The left has to drop its woke fantasies. The right must face its own flaws. And both sides need to meet on common ground built on facts and reason. Because unity built on lies isn't unity at all. It's a ticking time bomb. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.